Captain stood on the bridge of the human battleship Defiance, watching the stars streak past through the viewport. 22 years of war, and it felt like yesterday when humanity first joined the Stellar Confederation. Back then, they were the members, barely understanding how space battles worked. Now, her ship led the most feared strike force in the galaxy. The communication screen lit up with the familiar blue face of Admiral, who had become like family too. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, which meant he was pleased. "Captain, your humans have done it again," said his translator, making his voice sound warm. "The hegemony forces at Rigel 7 are retreating. They cannot match your tactics." Smiled. "We learned from the best, Admiral. Your people taught us everything we know about space warfare." It was true, but not the whole truth. Humans had learned quickly, maybe too quickly. They took the basic lessons from their alien allies and twisted them into something new. Where other species followed established battle plans, humans adapted on the fly. Where aliens used proven technology, humans jury-rigged solutions that should not work but somehow did. The war against the hegemony empire had been going on for over 60 years before humanity joined. 12 different alien species fought together as the Stellar Confederation against the tyrants who wanted to rule the entire galaxy. The hegemony had enslaved dozens of worlds, forcing entire populations to work in their factories and mines. When Earth received the first message from the Confederation, most humans thought it was a joke. Aliens were real and they needed help fighting other aliens. The choice was simple for humanity. They knew what it felt like to be oppressed. They knew what it meant to fight for freedom. Remembered the day she first met. She was just a lieutenant then, fresh from the human training program. The aliens were skeptical about human abilities. After all, humanity had never fought in space before. They had no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light communication systems. What humans did have was determination. They learned every alien language they could. They studied every battle tactic. They memorized the strengths and weaknesses of every hegemony ship design. Most importantly, they brought something the aliens had never seen before, the willingness to break the rules. In space combat, there were established traditions. Ships fought in formation. Battles followed predictable patterns. Commanders made calculated moves based on thousands of years of experience. Humans threw all of that out the window. His first major battle was at the junction. The hegemony had set a trap, using their superior numbers to surround a small Confederation fleet. The alien commanders were planning a fighting retreat, hoping to save as many ships as possible. Instead, suggested something crazy. What if they rammed their ships into the hegemony formation at maximum speed, not to destroy themselves, but to break through and attack from behind? The alien commanders thought she was insane. Ramming attacks were suicide missions. Proved them wrong. Her human crews modified their ships with reinforced hulls and emergency escape pods. They punched through the hegemony lines like bullets, causing so much confusion that the trap collapsed. The humans lost half their ships, but they saved the entire fleet. That battle changed everything. Suddenly, every alien commander wanted humans in their task force. Human creativity became legendary throughout the Confederation. They turned cargo ships into weapons platforms. They used mining equipment to break enemy formations. They even convinced some hegemony soldiers to switch sides by broadcasting Earth music during battles. Now, 22 years later, humanity provided almost half of the Confederation's military power. Human shipyards worked around the clock, building vessels that combined the best alien technology with human innovation. Human soldiers served alongside aliens from 12 different worlds, forming bonds that seemed unbreakable. His closest friend was Commander, and who commanded the ship alongside her. Had 6 arms and thought in mathematics, but she understood human humor better than most humans did. They had fought in 47 battles together, saving each other's lives more times than could count. "Captain," clicked through her translator. The final assault plans have arrived from Confederation Command. Looked at the tactical display that appeared above the bridge. The hegemony empire was down to its last stronghold, their capital system of Draconis Prime. 3 massive planets surrounded by the most powerful defensive network ever built. For 60 years, no Confederation force had even gotten close. But this time was different. This time, they had overwhelming numbers and a detailed plan. More importantly, they had human ingenuity working alongside alien wisdom. The attack force was massive, 3,000 ships from all 13 member species of the Confederation. Humans commanded nearly half of them, despite being the smallest population in the Alliance. Every human ship was crewed with mixed species teams. Its own bridge included aliens from 7 different worlds, all working together like a single organism. The assault begins in 6 days, continued. Admiral wants all human forces to take the lead positions. Felt a surge of pride. The aliens trusted humans to spearhead the most important battle in galactic history. After decades of being the junior partners, humans were now seen as the best hope for victory. She thought about Earth, about the billions of people who were counting on this mission. Human colonies spread across dozens of worlds now, all protected by the Confederation. Children who had never seen Earth considered aliens from other species to be their neighbors and friends. The communication system chimed again. This time, it was a message from Admiral addressed to all human commanders. "My friends," his translated voice echoed through the ship, "tomorrow we begin the final phase of this war. Your species has brought us closer to victory than we ever imagined possible. The courage and innovation of humanity has inspired us all. Together, we will end the hegemony's reign of terror forever." Looked around her bridge at the mixture of human and alien faces. They were more than allies now. They were family. They had bled together, mourned together, and hoped together. In 6 days, they would either win the war together or die together. She never imagined that some of them were already planning her death. The alarm started screaming at 3:47 hours, ship time. Jerked awake in her captain's quarters, immediately alert. Battle alarms meant only one thing: the hegemony had found them. Somehow, the enemy had discovered their hidden position in the outer belt, just 1 day before the final assault was supposed to begin. She rushed to the bridge, still pulling on her uniform. The scene that greeted her made no sense. "Captain," Lieutenant called out from the sensor station, "we have massive energy readings, ships dropping out of hyperspace all around us." "Hegemony?" asked, sliding into her command chair. "No, ma'am," replied, his voice confused. They're Confederation ships, lots of them." His first thought was relief. Their allies had arrived early, probably to provide extra support for tomorrow's attack. But something felt wrong. The timing was off. The formation was wrong. Commander scuttled over on her 6 legs, her translator clicking rapidly. "Captain, I am receiving strange communications from the incoming fleet. They are demanding we power down our weapons and prepare to be boarded." "What?" stared at her alien friend. "That makes no sense. Run a full identification scan on those ships." The results came back within seconds. Felt the blood drain from her face as she read the list. 3 dreadnoughts led by Admiral's flagship, 5 battle cruisers, 2 massive planetary assault vessels, ships from every species in the Confederation, all pointing their weapons at the human fleet. "This has to be a mistake," whispered. "Open a channel to Admiral." The flickered to life, showing the familiar blue face of her old friend. But something was different. His 4 eyes were cold, empty of the warmth she had known for over 20 years. "Captain," said formally, "by order of the Stellar Confederation Emergency Council, all human ships are commanded to surrender immediately. Power down your weapons and prepare to transfer command to Confederation forces." Felt like she was falling through space. "Admiral, what are you talking about? What emergency? We're supposed to attack Draconis Prime tomorrow." "There will be no attack," replied. "The war is over. The Confederation and the Hegemony Empire have reached a peace agreement. The terms require the immediate disarmament of all human forces." The bridge went silent except for the humming of computers. Could feel her crew staring at her, waiting for orders, waiting for her to make sense of this madness. "A peace agreement." His voice was barely a whisper. "After 60 years of war, you made peace, without consulting humanity." His face showed no emotion. "The decision was made for the good of the galaxy. Humanity has become problematic. Your species advances too quickly. Your methods are too unpredictable. Both the Confederation and the Hegemony agree that human military power represents a threat to galactic stability." Felt rage building in her chest. "A threat? We've been fighting beside you for over 20 years. We've saved your lives." "And that," said quietly, "is exactly why you must be stopped." The transmission cut off. For a moment the bridge was completely silent. Then Lieutenant spoke, his voice shaking. "Captain, I'm detecting weapons locked from multiple ships. They're targeting our engines and weapon systems." His mind raced. This couldn't be happening. It had to be some kind of test or a misunderstanding. These were her friends, her allies, her family. "Commander," she said, turning to her alien friend, "tell me this is a mistake." 6 arms moved in a pattern that had never seen before. This translated voice was so quiet that almost missed it. "I am sorry, I received the orders 3 days ago. We all did." Stared at her closest friend, the alien she had saved from certain death at the Battle of Station. You knew." "The Confederation Council met in secret session 1 month ago," continued, her voice mechanical. "Representatives from all 12 species attended. The topic was the human problem." "The human problem," repeated the words like they were poison. "Your species learns too fast," explained. "Your technology advances too quickly. Your population grows too rapidly. Your military tactics are too effective. The Council determined that humanity would become the dominant species in the galaxy within 50 years. Looked around her bridge. Half her crew was human, half was alien. They had worked together, trusted each other, become friends. Now she saw the alien crew members backing away from their human colleagues, hands moving toward their weapons. "So you decided to destroy us," said. "Not destroy," corrected. "Control. Human colonies will be placed under Confederation oversight. Human military forces will be disbanded. Human technology development will be monitored and limited." Stood up from her captain's chair. Around her, she could see the human members of her crew reaching the same terrible realization. They had been betrayed by the people they trusted most. "Captain," called out, "the Hegemony fleet has arrived." Spun around to stare at the tactical display. Dozens of Hegemony ships were dropping out of hyperspace, taking positions alongside the Confederation forces. The two enemies, who had been killing each other for 60 years, were now working together. "The peace agreement," whispered. "You made a deal with slavers and tyrants." "We made a deal for galactic peace," replied. "Humanity was the only obstacle to ending this war." Watched the display as more and more enemy ships surrounded the human fleet. They were outnumbered 10 to 1. In the space of 1 hour, humanity had gone from leading the greatest alliance in galactic history to being surrounded by every enemy they had ever known. But the worst part was not the ships pointing weapons at them. The worst part was watching her alien friends look at her with fear and suspicion instead of trust and love. Captain shouted, "They're firing." The first shots came from the ship's new best. Dreadnought fired directly at the human flagship Victory, commanded by his mentor, Admiral. Watched in horror as the ship she had served on for 5 years disappeared in a ball of fire. Then every alien ship opened fire at once. Grabbed the ship's communication system. "All human vessels, this is Captain. "We are under attack by Confederation and hegemony forces. Defend yourselves." But even as she gave the order, knew it was hopeless. The human fleet had been positioned for the final assault on Draconis Prime, not for a defensive battle. Their ships were loaded with ground assault equipment, not extra weapons. They had been set up perfectly for slaughter. On the bridge around her, watched as her alien crew members pulled out weapons and pointed them at their human colleagues. 20 years of friendship ended in a single moment. "I am sorry," said, aiming a plasma pistol at its chest, "but you must surrender." Looked into the compound eyes of her oldest friend and saw a stranger. "No," said quietly, "we will not surrender, not to you, not to anyone." She hit the emergency button on her command chair, sealing the bridge and activating the ship's auto-destruct sequence. In the space around them, the greatest betrayal in galactic history continued. Ships that had fought side by side for decades were now destroying each other. Friends were killing friends. The alliance that had brought peace to the galaxy was drowning in human blood. Watched through the viewports as ship after ship full of people she knew and loved disappeared into space dust. She thought about Earth, about the human colonies, about the children who had grown up thinking aliens were their friends. As the Defiance shook under enemy fire, made a promise to herself. If any humans survived this, they would remember. They would learn. And someday they would make every betrayer pay for what they had done. 5 years had passed since the night that changed everything. Now calling herself Admiral, though no formal government had given her that rank, stood in the command center of Haven Base. The base was built inside a dead star, a place so hostile and hidden that no alien species had ever thought to look there. The irony was not lost on her. Humans, who had once been welcomed as heroes throughout the galaxy, now lived like rats in the spaces between the stars. "Admiral," came a voice from behind her. She turned to see, son of the Admiral who died in the first moments of the betrayal, had been just a cadet then. Now he was one of her most trusted officers. "Report," said simply. "Contact Team 7 has returned from the Outer Rim. They found another group of survivors, 43 humans hiding in an abandoned mining station. They've been living on recycled water and emergency rations for 3 years." Nodded. It was the same story everywhere. Small groups of humans, scattered across the galaxy, trying to survive while their former friends hunted them down like animals. "Bring them in," she said. "Make sure they get medical attention and hot food." "Yes, ma'am. Also, the tech teams have finished analyzing the alien equipment we captured from that Confederation patrol last month." Followed through the corridors of Haven Base. The base was a miracle of human engineering, built entirely in secret over 5 years. They had carved living spaces out of solid rock, created artificial gravity using salvaged alien technology, and built workshops where human engineers worked around the clock to prepare for war. The base now housed over 8,000 survivors, making it the largest human settlement in the galaxy. Knew of 12 other hidden bases scattered across the outer regions of space, each containing hundreds of refugees. In total, maybe 50,000 humans remained free out of the billions who had lived before the betrayal. Earth was gone, not destroyed but conquered. The Confederation and hegemony had divided human space between them, had seen intelligence reports about her home planet. Human cities were now filled with alien soldiers. Human children attended schools where they learned alien languages and alien history. The curriculum taught them that humanity had been a dangerous species that needed to be controlled for the good of the galaxy. "The workshop is this way," said, leading her down a corridor lined with photographs. Had ordered the photos to be displayed throughout the base. Pictures of human ships, human colonies, human families. Reminders of what they had lost and what they were fighting to regain. The workshop buzzed with activity. Human engineers worked alongside captured alien technology, breaking it apart, studying it, and rebuilding it into something better. still found it amazing how quickly humans adapted. Where aliens spent centuries perfecting a single design, humans would tear it apart and rebuild it in months. Dr. Sarah looked up from her workbench as approached. Doctor had been a civilian scientist before the Betrayal, working on peaceful projects. Now she was humanity's chief weapons designer. "Admiral, you need to see this," Doctor said, gesturing to a device on her table. It looked like a standard alien communication unit, but could see modifications that made it something entirely different. "We've cracked their communication encryption," Doctor explained. "But more than that, we can now inject false data into their networks. We can make their sensors show whatever we want them to show." Picked up the device, feeling its weight. This could change everything. "It gets better," Doctor continued. "Remember how the aliens always said that human technology was crude and primitive compared to theirs? They were wrong. Our technology is different. We build things to be fixed, to be modified, to be improved. Their technology is beautiful and perfect and impossible to change." Doctor led to another table where a small ship engine hummed quietly. "This is based on a Confederation gravity drive, but we've made it 50% more efficient. The aliens never thought to try this modification because their designs are considered sacred. They've been using the same basic technology for thousands of years." Realized what Doctor was telling her. The aliens had not been lying when they said that humanity advanced too quickly. During 5 years of hiding, human technology had leaped forward by centuries. Forced to survive on salvaged equipment, human engineers had learned to make alien technology work better than the aliens themselves could. "How many ships can we build with this new technology?" asked. "With our current resources, maybe 200 small vessels. But Admiral, I don't think we should focus on building a large fleet." Raised an eyebrow. "What do you suggest?" "Stealth ships. Small, fast, invisible vessels that can slip past alien sensors. We don't need to fight fair. We need to fight smart." Smiled for the first time in months. This was why humanity would survive. This was why their enemies had been right to fear them. She walked to another section of the workshop where a different kind of work was taking place. Here, human psychologists and cultural experts studied alien society, looking for weaknesses that could be exploited. Professor Martinez looked up from his research. Before the Betrayal, he had been an expert in alien cultures, helping to build bridges between species. Now, he used that same knowledge to find ways to tear those bridges down. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the political structure of the Confederation. The alliance between the 12 species was never as strong as they pretended. Each species has its own interests, its own fears, its own prejudices." Professor Martinez activated a holographic display showing the political relationships between alien species. And have been rivals for centuries. Think all other species are inferior. The hegemony species hate each other almost as much as they hate everyone else. Studied the display. "You think we can turn them against each other?" "I know we can. The only thing that united them was fear of humanity. If we can make them fear each other more than they fear us, their alliance will collapse." Walked through the workshop, seeing the work of hundreds of humans preparing for war. But this was not the same species that had joined the Stellar Confederation 27 years ago. Those humans had been hopeful, trusting, eager to make friends among the stars. These humans were different. They had been betrayed by their closest friends, hunted by people they loved, and forced to watch their children grow up in hiding. They had learned lessons that no human in history had ever needed to learn. They had learned that mercy was a luxury they could not afford. Made her way to the memorial chamber, a quiet room where they honored the humans who had died in the Betrayal. Millions of names covered the walls, including Admiral, Commander's human friends, and Captain from's own ship. She stopped in front of a particular name, Captain James, her first commanding officer. He had taught her that humanity's greatest strength was their ability to work with others, to build alliances, to find common ground with different species. "I'm sorry, Captain," whispered to the wall, "but they made sure that strength became a weakness. We won't make that mistake again." Returned to the command center, where was waiting with the day's intelligence reports. Information came in from human agents scattered across the galaxy, painting a picture of alien society that was both encouraging and terrifying. "The good news," reported, "is that alien technology has not advanced at all in the 5 years since the betrayal. They're using exactly the same ships, the same weapons, the same tactics. And the bad news: they've enslaved most of the human population. Confederation and hegemony forces are using human prisoners as forced labor. They're also experimenting on captured humans, trying to understand what made our species so dangerous." Felt cold anger settle in her chest. The aliens had not been content with winning. They had decided to break humanity completely. "How many ships do we have operational?" she asked. 63 stealth vessels, fully equipped with the new technology. Another 100 ships under construction. Looked at the tactical display showing the locations of alien fleets throughout the galaxy. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, entire worlds turned into fortresses. Any reasonable person would look at those odds and give up. But was no longer reasonable. None of them were. "Begin Phase 1 of the operation," commanded. "Send the message to all base commanders. It's time to remind the galaxy why they were right to fear us." The first alien ship died without ever knowing what killed it. Admiral watched from the bridge of her stealth vessel as the Confederation patrol ship Bright Star simply vanished from sensors. One moment it was there, conducting a routine sweep of the Tau system. The next moment, nothing remained but expanding gas and metal fragments. "Target destroyed," reported Lieutenant, his voice calm and professional. "No distress signal transmitted." Nodded. The attack had been perfect. The human stealth ship had approached invisibly, fired a single quantum torpedo, and disappeared again before the alien crew could even understand they were under attack. It had been 3 months since gave the order to begin humanity's counterstrike. In that time, 67 alien ships had vanished without explanation. Confederation and hegemony command centers were starting to panic. "Ma'am," called Communications Officer Park, "we're receiving the coded transmission from Operation Whisper." Smiled grimly. Operation Whisper was one of her favorite projects. Human agents, disguised as aliens using advanced holographic technology, had infiltrated Confederation and hegemony intelligence networks. They fed false information to both sides, making each alliance believe the other was planning surprise attacks. "Put it through," ordered. The message was brief but perfect. A fake hegemony communication, supposedly intercepted by Confederation forces, describing a planned assault on the. The communication was completely false, but the aliens had no way to know that. His team had studied alien psychology for 5 years. They knew exactly which buttons to push, which fears to exploit, which suspicions to encourage. The aliens had spent centuries building trust between their species. Humans were tearing that trust apart in months. "Set course for the Rigel system," commanded. "It's time for Phase 2. The Rigel system contained a major Confederation shipyard, one of the facilities building new vessels to hunt down human survivors. Intelligence network had provided detailed information about the facility's defenses, work schedules, and personnel. More importantly, they had provided information about the facility's workers. 3,000 enslaved humans forced to build ships for their former allies. Ship approached the shipyard using routes that human agents had identified. The facility's sensors, modified by those same agents, showed empty space where the human vessel actually flew. Marveled at how easy it had become to fool alien technology once you understood how it worked. "Admiral," Lieutenant reported, "We're in position. All human prisoners have been located." Looked at the tactical display showing the massive shipyard. 5 years ago, she would have tried to negotiate to find a peaceful solution. That was dead, killed the night her friends pointed guns at her heart. "Begin the liberation," she ordered. What happened next was not a battle, it was an execution. Human commandos, invisible to alien sensors, teleported directly onto the shipyard using technology that the aliens still thought was impossible. Within minutes, every alien guard was dead. The enslaved humans who had spent 5 years in chains were suddenly free. But was not there just to rescue prisoners. "Initiate the virus program," she commanded. Doctor's computer virus spread through the shipyard systems like a living thing. It erased databases, corrupted communication networks, and sent false reports back to Confederation headquarters. More importantly, it itself to every ship in the facility. When those ships returned to other bases, they would carry the virus with them. Within weeks, the infection would spread throughout the Confederation fleet, crippling their ability to coordinate attacks or share information. The liberated humans were evacuated to hidden transport ships, but left behind something special for their former captors to find. Bodies, hundreds of alien bodies, arranged in perfect geometric patterns throughout the facility. Each alien had been killed by a different method, some by energy weapons, some by explosives, some by methods that seemed impossible. The arrangement made it clear that this was not random violence. This was a message. Psychological warfare team had studied human history, learning from every conflict their species had ever fought. They understood that sometimes fear was more powerful than actual force. The aliens needed to know that humans were not just killing randomly. They were killing with purpose, with creativity, with the cold intelligence of a species that had learned to hate. Admiral, Communications Officer Park reported, "We're receiving urgent transmissions from Confederation and Hegemony command centers." Listened to the intercepted communications with satisfaction. Panic was spreading through alien leadership as they tried to understand what was happening. Ships vanishing without explanation. Computer systems failing mysteriously. Human prisoners disappearing from supposedly secure facilities. But the best part was the suspicion. "The High Council is demanding to know why ships were detected near the vanished patrol vessels," Park continued. "They are accusing them of staging false flag attacks. 3 different hegemony species are claiming that the others are secretly helping human terrorists." Felt a cold satisfaction settle in her chest. The aliens' greatest strength had been their unity. Working together, they had been able to defeat the hegemony empire. Working together, they had been able to betray humanity. But had learned something important during her years in hiding. Unity was fragile. It required trust, communication, and shared goals. Humans had become very good at destroying all 3. "Set course for the Confederation capital," ordered. "It's time for the final phase." The journey to the Confederation capital took 2 weeks. During that time, its network of human agents carried out dozens of operations across the galaxy. Alien ships found themselves attacking each other due to false sensor readings. Confederation and Hegemony forces clashed in 3 different systems because of forged intelligence reports. Political leaders on both sides began questioning whether their allies could be trusted. Arrived at the Confederation capital, just in time to watch the alien alliance tear itself apart. The capital system was home to 12 different species, each with their own military forces, their own intelligence networks, and their own political agendas. For decades, they had worked together because they shared common enemies. Now, thanks to human manipulation, they shared only common fears. Stealth ship approached the capital world undetected, using technology that was now 50 years ahead of anything the aliens possessed. She could see massive fleets from different species positioning themselves defensively, no longer trusting each other enough to coordinate their movements. "Admiral," Lieutenant reported, "the fleet is demanding that all ships leave the system immediately. They claim to have evidence that they are working with human terrorists." Smiled. The evidence was completely fake, created by her psychological warfare team and delivered through channels that made it seem authentic. The aliens' own intelligence systems were being used against them. "What's the response?" asked. "They're refusing to leave. They claim they have evidence that they are the real traitors." Watched through her viewports as alien ships that had fought side by side for decades began targeting each other. The alliance that had defeated the hegemony empire was collapsing in a matter of hours, but was not content to simply watch. "Prepare the broadcast system," she ordered. "It's time to let them know who's really responsible for their problems." Had spent months preparing for this moment. The broadcast would go out on all alien communication frequencies simultaneously, impossible to block or trace. When her face appeared on screens across the Confederation capital, saw exactly what she had hoped to see in the aliens' expressions: fear. "My name is Admiral," she began, her voice calm and steady. "5 years ago you betrayed humanity. You murdered millions of innocent people. You enslaved our children. You thought you had destroyed us." Paused, letting her words sink in. "You were wrong." The broadcast continued for exactly 60 seconds, explained that every mysterious attack, every system failure, every intelligence leak had been the work of human agents. She told them that their alliance was already broken, their fleets were already compromised, and their species were already turning against each other. Most importantly, she told them that this was just the beginning. When the broadcast ended, watched as chaos erupted throughout the alien capital. Ships opened fire on each other as trust finally collapsed completely. The Confederation, which had taken centuries to build, was destroying itself in a matter of hours. "Admiral," Communications Officer Park reported, "we're detecting similar conflicts in 17 other systems. The alliance is falling apart everywhere." Felt a moment of satisfaction, but only a moment. This was not revenge. This was preparation. The real war was about to begin. 2 years after the broadcast that shattered the Stellar Confederation, Admiral stood in the throne room of what had once been the Imperial Palace. Through the massive windows, she could see human ships in orbit around the alien capital world, their weapons trained on the cities below. The war, if it could even be called that, was over. Looked down at the 12 alien leaders kneeling before her. Each one represented a different species that had once been part of the mighty Confederation. Now they were prisoners, waiting to learn their fate from the humans they had tried to destroy. Admiral was among them, the who had been friend for over 20 years before becoming her betrayer. His 4 eyes were dim with defeat and shame. Felt nothing as she looked at him. The capacity for forgiveness had been burned out of her long ago. "You are wondering why you are still alive," said, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Your fleets are destroyed. Your worlds are occupied. Your people are under human control. Logic would suggest that we should simply eliminate you as you tried to eliminate us." She walked slowly in front of the kneeling aliens, her boots clicking on the marble floor. "But humanity has learned from your mistakes. You feared us because we grew too powerful too quickly. You tried to destroy us because you thought we would become tyrants. Congratulations. You created exactly what you feared most." Gestured to the walls around them. The throne room had been decorated with images of history, showing their rise from a primitive species to galactic leaders. Had ordered the images to remain, but new artwork had been added, holographic displays showing the current state of the galaxy. Every system was marked with the symbol of the Terran Dominion. Every world was under human control. Every species was now subject to human law. "Your children will grow up in a galaxy ruled by humans," continued. "They will learn human languages, follow human customs, and serve human interests. just as you forced our children to do 5 years ago." She stopped in front of, looking down at the alien who had once been like family to her. "But we are not like you," said quietly. "We do not slaughter innocents. We do not enslave entire species just because we fear them. We are better than you. We will prove it by allowing you to live." Walked to the throne that had once belonged to the emperor. It was a beautiful piece of art, carved from a single crystal that reflected light in rainbow patterns. She sat down, feeling the weight of absolute power settle around her shoulders. "You will live," she repeated, "but you will live as our subjects. Your species will be relocated to designated worlds where they can be properly monitored. Your technology will be limited to levels that we consider safe. Your governments will be dissolved and replaced with human administrators." Stepped forward from his position beside the throne. In the years since the counterstrike began, he had become most trusted advisor. His father had died in the first moments of the betrayal and carried that loss in his eyes every day. "The terms are non-negotiable," announced. "Any resistance will result in the immediate destruction of your. Any attempt to develop advanced technology will result in the removal of your species to prison colonies. Any act of terrorism will result in collective punishment for your entire population." Watch the alien leaders process these words. Some showed anger, others showed despair, but all of them showed fear. Good, fear would keep them alive. The ambassador, a female named who had once commanded ships alongside human forces, finally spoke. "What you are proposing is slavery," she said, her translator making her voice sound mechanical. "You are no better than the hegemony empire." Smiled coldly. "The hegemony enslaved species to exploit them. We are enslaving you to control you. There is a significant difference." She stood up from the throne and walked to the great window overlooking the alien capital. Below, she could see human soldiers patrolling the streets, while alien civilians went about their daily lives under martial law. It was not the galaxy that had dreamed of when she first joined the Confederation, but it was the galaxy that their betrayal had created. "You made a choice 5 years ago," said without turning around. "You chose to see humanity as a threat to be eliminated rather than partners to be trusted. Every consequence that followed came from that choice." Turn back to face the alien leaders. "Your species will be allowed to continue existing, but you will exist under human supervision. Your children will be educated in human schools. Your leaders will be chosen by human administrators. Your military forces will be disbanded permanently." She returned to the throne, settling into it like it had been made for her. "Some of your people will be allowed to serve in the Terran Dominion, not as equals but as useful tools. Those who demonstrate loyalty and competence may earn limited freedoms. Those who prove troublesome will be removed." Gestured to, who activated a holographic display showing the new structure of galactic civilization. The center of the display showed Earth, surrounded by dozens of human colonial worlds. Beyond that were the alien worlds, color-coded by their level of restriction and control. "The Terran Dominion is not a democracy," explained. "It is not a confederation of equals. It is an empire and humanity is its ruling species. We make the decisions. We set the policies. We determine who lives and who dies." Admiral finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "We were friends once. We fought together. We trusted each other. Does that mean nothing to you?" Looked down at her former friend and felt only cold emptiness where her emotions used to be. "You taught me that friendship means nothing when power is at stake," she replied. "You taught me that trust is a weakness that will be exploited by anyone stronger than you. You taught me that mercy is a luxury that leads to betrayal." She leaned forward in her throne, her eyes locked once. "I learned your lessons very well." Stood up again, signaling that the audience was over. Human guards moved forward to escort the alien leaders back to their cells. "You will be returned to your under-escort," announced. You will inform your people of the new reality. Any species that accepts human rule will be treated with basic dignity. Any species that resists will be relocated to harsher worlds. Any species that rebels will be eliminated. As the alien leaders were led away, remained standing by the throne, approached her, holding a data pad with reports from across the galaxy. Admiral, the relocation of the hegemony species is proceeding on schedule. The has been evacuated and is being prepared for human colonization. The military has been completely disbanded. Nodded, and the human colonies. Growing rapidly. Earth's population has increased by 30% in the past 2 years. The new colonies in former alien space are thriving. Most importantly, human children are being born who will grow up knowing that humanity rules the galaxy. Walked to the window again, looking out at the alien city below. In the distance, she could see construction crews building human-style buildings alongside the alien architecture. Within a generation, this world would look like a human world that happened to have alien residents. Any word from the resistance movements? Asked. Consulted his data pad. 3 small groups on different worlds, totaling fewer than 1,000 aliens. They're more of an annoyance than a threat. Local human administrators are handling the situation. Felt a moment of something that might have been satisfaction. The great alliance that had defeated the hegemony empire, betrayed humanity, and ruled the galaxy for over a century was now nothing more than scattered groups of angry aliens hiding in the shadows. Just like humans had been for 5 years. Schedule a broadcast for tomorrow, ordered. I want to address the entire galaxy. It's time to make the new order official. Walked through the palace corridors toward her private quarters. The walls were lined with portraits of alien leaders from throughout history. Tomorrow, those portraits would be replaced with images of human heroes. The soldiers who died in the betrayal, the engineers who built Haven Base, the agents who brought down the alien alliance. As she entered her quarters, caught sight of her reflection in a mirror. The face looking back at her was older, harder, and colder than the idealistic captain who had once believed in friendship between species. That captain had died 5 years ago, killed by the friends she trusted most. The woman who had taken her place was something the galaxy had never seen before. A human who understood that mercy was weakness, that trust was foolishness, and that power was the only thing that mattered. Prepared for bed in the chambers that had once belonged to alien royalty. Tomorrow, she would announce the formation of the Terran Dominion and the end of the age of alien rule. Humanity would officially become the masters of the galaxy. But tonight allowed herself one moment of reflection. She thought about Captain, who had died on the bridge of the Defiance 5 years ago. She thought about Admiral, whose son now served as her advisor. She thought about all the humans who had trusted their alien friends right up until the moment those friends pulled the trigger. Had kept a promise to those dead humans. She had made their killers pay for what they did. She had built a galaxy where no human would ever again have to fear betrayal by alien friends. It was not the galaxy that humanity had dreamed of when they first reached for the stars. But it was the galaxy they deserved after learning the hardest lesson in the universe, that in the end, the only species you can trust is your own. Turned off the lights and settled into sleep, dreaming of human children who would grow up ruling the galaxy their parents had been forced to conquer.